Unfortunately, I was not even arrested once, and Gauri was accusing me for this. Before, in my lifetime, I should see you in jail. That was a ambition which I could not fulfill. Even today, that is not happening. Anyway, I was.
Shahadat nahi mili aapko.
Shahadat nahi mili.
We have with us Shivasundar. He's an activist.
Nature of landlord has become semi-capitalist because he is the one who is actually owning seed shop.
And he's also making layouts in Bangalore.
Layouts in the Bangalore.
For Simple Sudha's husband.
Yeah. You said so.
I said so means what?
Yeah, of course. In any party, at any given point of time, you will find radicals and reformers.
Hindu, Brahmin or the Savarna hegemony which runs like a umbilical cord between different parties. Why umbilical cord? Literally because one relative is a communist, another relative is a congressy, another relative is now, in Kerala if you look at it, he may be a Sanghi.
In 2022 UP election, all the opposition parties and also this BJP party started their campaign from Ayodhya. What was the promise given by these people? Every political party, including the BSP, SP, Congress, AAP, they say that they will build the Bhavya Ram Mandir in a faster pace. None of them had that constitutional obligation to say that the demolition of Babri Masjid is wrong.
Essentially, what the left is doing is it is defeating fascism by excluding the same sections who are in need of their protection. In the case of Europe, it's definitely Muslims. In the case of India, it's definitely Muslims.
And Dalits.
Dalits. Right, which is that you are being anti-fascist, anti-Hindutva without giving tickets to Muslims.
Socio-economic conditions of emergence of fascism still remains until the capitalism remains. Because capitalism is crisis. Capitalism can thrive only on the exploiting others. And crony capitalism will aggravate the whole problem. And Congress is not, you cannot say it is non-crony capitalist when this BJP MLA started shouting Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri Ram. Congress and Siddaramaiah shouted Jai Sita Ram. So both of them brought Ram into the house. P. Chidambaram, in an interview, he says that we don't accept what Sam Pitroda says. See our manifesto. We are for the private capital-led growth. Gone are the days of Garibi Hatavo, he says. If you give agency to religiosity and we don't have any other cultural interventions to make it more pro-people, or at least say Shudrais or Dalitais it, Hindutva will take over that. That's what is happening.
When the Babri Masjid falls, A.B. Bardhan gives a speech, much like what we are criticizing Rahul Gandhi's progressive Hindu speech. A.B. Bardhan gave a speech after the fall of the Babri Masjid, which was a proper, there are good Hindus.
And what was the statement of Sitaram Yechury when he denied the invitation to that is Rama Mandir Udghatan?
What?
The most influential ism in the country today appears to be Hindutva. It has taken a long time for this ideology to come of age. But what happened to the other ideological movements that began in the early 20th century? The RSS will turn 100 years old next year, but so will the Communist Party of India. Ambedkarism, Marxism, liberalism, Dravidianism, feminism, Gandhiism. What role are these great big isms of the 20th century playing in the 21st century? What relevance do they have today?
I'm an atheist in the same way as I'm an a-leprechaun.
Why have there been casteism existing in the country still today?
Feminism, by definition, the belief that men and women should have equal
The
rights.
nature of the system is to be as mean and rotten as you can, to try to maximize profit.
I'm Sudipto Mondal,
And welcome to this episode of What's Your Ism? Hello and welcome to the first episode of a fresh season, post-election season of What's Your Ism. The previous conversations, the last set of conversations, as you know, were prospective conversations where we were imagining what the results will be and what people's isms leading up to those big elections were. And now we have, let's say, the benefit of hindsight. The results are out, and obviously a lot of that will dominate the conversations in this season. Before I tell you about who our guest is, let me tell you where this recording is happening. This is a place called Bamboo Pecker. This is a store right next to the TNM office in Bangalore, and they've been very kind to give us this space to record. Obviously, we still want a studio and we still want your support to get that studio. So please subscribe, vote with your money. And without any more delay, I want to introduce you to the guests today. We have with us Shivasundar, the person who has come up in conversation many times in the previous episodes. Those of you who remember, we were talking to Tisa Setalvad and with Vasu, the founder of this unicorn Kannada outlet called Idina. And in those conversations, when we were trying to examine the ism of Vasu and people like Tisa Setalvad, in a kind of a critical evaluation, we could not ignore mentioning or avoid mentioning Shivasundar. So Shivasundar is what? Activist. You are activist.
Yes, I am an activist, and I do activism in all the fields that is possible for me.
Okay.
Also in journalism.
Okay.
Yeah.
But allow me also to tell you what I think of Shivasundar. Shivasundar is somebody, yes, like he said himself, he's an activist. But to a lot of us who started off in Karnataka in the early mid 2000s as journalists, Shivasundar and also to an extent Gauri Rankesh were people who emerged as some kind of mentor figures for us, who helped us understand Karnataka's history, politics, starting with what is the basic difference between JDS, Congress and BJP, and going forward into different political, cultural movements, progressive movements that happened in Karnataka. I dare say Shivasundar had a very important role to play in educating a whole generation of journalists.
Exaggeration.
No? But at least forcing us to think in a certain direction.
Could be. Could be.
Yeah. Shivasundar, thank you so much for coming on this show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And you have been delaying appearing on this show. You've been everywhere. Let me start with that. Where all have you been in the last?
See, prior to election, I have been traveling all over Karnataka, and the last time when you invited me, I was participating in what is called Mede Sahitya Mela, which is an annual congregation of the like-minded literary persons and activists. I was there in Koppala when you last invited me.
Okay.
So somehow that could not actually happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. See, a lot of this conversation, Shivasundar, will obviously be to find out what Shivasundar's problem is. ತೊಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. For those of you who know Kannada, what I'm trying to say is essentially that Shivasundar is a critical voice in Karnataka, is somebody who's a prolific writer, by the way. You should also check out his pieces. Many of his pieces have appeared in the News Minute, also in the Wire and across the media. In the Kannada space, he's prolific. And in addition to being prolific, I mean, I suppose I was trying to think of, just in the lead up to this interview, I was thinking of how do I introduce you or describe you to the outside Karnataka audience.
I'm curious.
So in terms of rigor, and this is somebody I really admire, I think you bring in that rigor that someone like an A.G. Nurani has, somebody who would go and tell you dates, sections of the law, when what happened, that entire rigor in the... Because Kashmir I understood because of Nurani, and if I definitely can say with safety that Karnataka I understood a great deal thanks to your writings. So Nurani's rigor, and this person you may or may not like or whatever, he's open to interpretation, but a Shekhar Gupta's prolificness.
Oh my God.
As prolific as a Shekhar Gupta, as rigorous as an A.G. Nurani in journalistic terms.
Okay.
But often you end up criticizing the very people who we hope will take us in a progressive direction. You are one of the strongest critics of different progressive formations in Karnataka, and people constantly ask, what is Shivasundar's problem?
Okay. Shall we continue in Kannada or English?
English. We'll talk in English. But before we get to all of that, what is Shivasundar's problem? We'll have to know who Shivasundar is.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first question to you, Shivasundar, I mean, can you start from in the beginning, which is how did you get into activism?
Yeah. See, I got into activism when I was a student. I was an engineering student in Chitradurga. It was a government seat in a private college. You can see the contradiction there. So you had different kind of people from different states. And in the very first, my activism was to ask for a vacation for the people who came from outside Chitradurga, for which I was punished. Then there was sympathy for me by the students who came from outside and also from within the Chitradurga. For example, Noor Zulfikar was my classmate. Noor Sridhar was my classmate in the engineering college.
Please tell our audience who Noor Sridhar is.
Noor Sridhar is one person who is also very much active in the social field now. He was earlier a Maoist leader who came open. He thought that democratic mainstream, he should participate in the democratic mainstream of the society. So I, Gauri and others also actually helped that process of facilitating them to come to the democratic mainstream. I and he were classmates. So then we were actually, my classmate, my hostel mate was one from Andhra Pradesh, one by name Anand. He was actually a sympathizer of Radical Students Union in Andhra Pradesh. Radical Students Union, Andhra Pradesh Radical Students in APRSU, how it was known. It was actually a student front of CPIML PW, People's War Party, which was known as popular. It was an Naxalite party, wanted a revolutionary transformation in the society. And he was telling us stories about the students' participation in the revolutionary politics. So we were young breed, and then I was very much inspired, and we wrote a letter to them to come and open a APRSU thing here.
Wow. Okay.
Then they introduced us to another formation in Karnataka, which was then called as Pragatipara Vidyarthi Kendra. So that was my first semester, and that was my last stint in the formal education. I continued till the final year, but I never was interested in pursuing my engineering education. I left the engineering in the final year. Then I had been in activism, exposed to revolutionary ideologies, different ideologies. And in the beginning, as you know, we will be very stubborn and think that our ideology is the perfect one.
We were discussing doctrinal, being doctrinal just before this.
That was the very beginning days, which we are completely correct and all that. But that's how you actually initiate into any kind of organization. That's how it started.
Right. So, it's so interesting. A lot of people on the radical left, came from technical engineering, medical. See, Vasu is a medical student. Right? How
Andhra has a lot of stories.
And of course, your REC Warangal and all of that.
That was a hotbed. Yeah.
Why?
See, it so happened. Andhra, that's why I told you about this contradiction of...
The funny answer to that, a lot of people say, is that's because they know how to make a bomb and assemble a gun.
No, I don't know how to make a bomb, but I never went to bomb. But there is a social contradiction in an engineering college. For example, I said it was a government seat in a private college. You have a capitation student and you have a student who is from a... I'm not from a disprivileged social background. I am from a privileged social background for that sense. But then if you actually mentioned REC. REC was a place where people from very poor social background, because of their meritorious performance, they got into REC. And you had people from upper caste also. And that was the terrain of class struggle. Their attitude, their culture, and the people of this background, what they brought into that. And that class struggle and your intellectual bent of mind, and you are curious, you are young, and that actually became a terrain of revolutionary politics and also very regressive politics. ABVP and RSU, both were strong in REC. Likewise, even in engineering college where I studied.
What is the name of the college?
That is Murugamat College.
Okay.
You know Murugamat.
Yes.
That is to tell you the whole name of the Sri Jagadguru Niranjana Shunya Simha Sanadisha Mallikarjuna Murugarajendra Institute of Technology, which is known as JMIT.
Which produced one of the most
it produced many. In fact, our batch had many progressive students, in fact, who some of them got into Maoist politics, some of them into democratic politics, Dalit politics. That was the era also, no? That was 80s.
Which year? 80s.
I joined engineering in 84. I was in Chitradurga between 84 and 88, and Karnataka of 80s. So
Dalit Sangarsha Samiti is happening.
Dalit Bandaya Sahitya,
all of
Raita Sangha was happening.
Raita Sangha, exactly.
Kannada Sangatne was very workers' organization. Of course, there was no left current in that was maximum there.
Can I ask you, what was your first spark towards the left? Like when I asked Vasu, he said it was Lankesh's writings, P. Lankesh's writings. He said, when I started my medical, from day one to the last day, I read every issue that used to come of Lankesh. What was your...
So it is quite opposite.
Because you say that you come from a Brahmin family, so you are a socially privileged thing. But how does that transform into something so radical? What happened?
Actually, I was in fight with my father. My father was a very God-fearing one, and he wanted to be...
Where is this happening?
We were in Kunigal, a place called Kunigal State Farm in Tumkur district.
Kunigal State Farm, yes.
Yeah, my father was an engineer there, and my mother is a teacher. My mother is a school teacher who was always supportive of me. And she used to back me. When I was raising questions about God, existence of God, I was a Gnostic, not Gnostic, I was an atheist in that sense. So I fell apart with my father and joined Air Force for 1 full year.
What?
Yeah.
No, you were in the Air Force.
Yeah.
Does anyone know this in Karnataka?
Yeah, whoever asked me, I have told them, and that is not a big
I don't think anybody would have nobody would have bothered to ask you.
That is not a big secret also, because I didn't want to depend on my father.
How did you join the Air Force? So this is after engineering?
No. Before
12, after 12.
I fell up. I had a continuous fight with my father. I finished my SSLC in Kunigal. I wanted to have my PUC education in St. Joseph's. I finished my first year PUC in St. Joseph College.
Okay.
While pursuing my PUC only, I applied for Air Force as an airman. And I got it. I gave a 20-year bond, etc. And I joined Air Force.
Deserted, huh?
Then deserted. I asked for a discharge because I was very homesick. Let me also confess. I thought I was very brave and all that. I found myself as very homesick.
Wow.
And that was very humiliating experience in the Air Force also. I was 150 among the 3,000 who were selected. And there was no connection between that. The selection and the kind of work we did and how officers were actually humiliating us, that was a kind of push factor. And homesickness was a pull factor. So I asked for a discharge and I came back within 1 year. I did my second PUC in Pavgada, that is another district in Tumkur. And then the mathematics question paper was leaked thrice during my second PUC exams.
Very few things have changed since then.
And to tell you another small snippet, I was the only student who was pursuing Sanskrit as the first language in the college in Pavgada.
Wow.
And when I took the Sanskrit exam, there was a full one supervisor, one room superintendent, one examiner. All of them were waiting for me. Anyway, that apart. So after finishing second PUC, this entrance exam was introduced during our period. Then I had a counseling and I got there. So what was your question?
No, I'm a little bit, pausing here to kind of take in this thing because it completely changes my image of you. You as a Air Force.
I was. You can say dropout.
Dropout
of Air Force and dropout of engineering college also.
I'm also wondering what if, there you felt homesick, you could still come back. What if you had run off into the forest with a gun? You wouldn't have been able to come back so easily.
Two of my friends actually, interestingly, they actually deserted Air Force, and one was calling himself as, we were called aircraftsmen under training.
Right.
ACUT. For example, I am ACUT Shivasundar.
Right.
There was one person from Tirupati whose name was Chalapati. He changed his name as Bullet. And he wanted the officers to call him as aircraftsman under training Bullet. And he was very rebellious.
Achha.
Officers were repressing him, and he actually slapped a officer for actually humiliating his colleague. And we get 30 days vacation after 6 months, and he didn't come back. After 1 year, his parents came in search of him, and later we realized that he joined Naxalites.
Oh, where in Andhra?
In Andhra. And after 2 years, we realized that he became a martyr within a year also.
Fell to the bullet.
Yeah, fell to the bullet. So that also happened. You had an RSS. My another roommate in Air Force was an RSS man from Gokarna.
Achha.
He was from priest family. So I had a bullet on the other side, and you had a Mule. His name was Mule. RSS on the other side.
A little aquarium, which, in which you have all
of us were there. Yeah, but that didn't influence me to any politics in that time. But I was admiring Bullet for his rebellious nature anyway.
So politics happened when for you?
When I came to engineering. So in fact, one thing, I was an atheist, and I was actually slowly trying to understand the society.
Do you remember where your atheism started, or do you think it's?
I think it started with my antagonism with my father. Maybe that was the root.
Right.
But slowly it also intellectually flourished when I started reading, etc.
Right.
So I don't find one particular inspiration to become political. It was a slow process. And that was a transformatory step to step. And one breakthrough was my exposure to this revolutionary politics of Andhra Pradesh.
Through that friend?
Through that friend by name Anand.
Noor was doing what that time?
Noor was my classmate. He was also engineering. And both of us together were exposed to this kind of politics. And both of us were PVK members. Both of us were district committee members of PVK those days. And he left the course in the third year. And
PVK once again is
Pragatipara Vidyarthi Kendra,
which translates to
PVK.
No, in English,
Progressive Students Front Center. Progressive Students Center.
And you did that until you were in engineering, and
then left my deserted engineering, you can say, by 1988, and I became a full-time activist.
So Saket and all that was your contemporary, your senior?
Saket was my senior.
Okay, Saket Rajan is another person who was a
great
senior
scholar, and
he was the head of the state committee.
He was head of the state committee in the late part of his life, 2006.
Of the Karnataka state
but he
committee.
was part of the state committee of the Karnataka People's War Party.
And he was killed in an encounter.
Anyway.
So was Saket in the?
I met Saket in '88 for the first time.
And you were a student then?
I was still a student.
And he was in the party already?
I didn't know at that time. So he came out as an intellectual, and he took a class about Karnataka history for full 5 days, 8 to 8. And that was mesmerizing. His scholarship and his rendition of that whole story without even looking at the notes, etc.
So tell me, that must have been a very important turning point.
That was a very important thing. In fact, to know Karnataka's history through an angle of people's perspective. Of course, now retrospectively, I can find some requirement in that whole rendition. That's a different part. But that was very inspiring to understand how, because Karnataka was actually dished out to us as a very non-violent, very peace-loving, and there was no struggle in the Karnataka history. It was always, as Gandhi termed the Maharaja of Mysore, it was a Ramarajya. That was never the case in the history. Karnataka is as good as or as bad as any
And this you are saying that it all came together for you through Saket.
My association with PVK, not only Saket. Saket was one important person.
Achha.
All other politics, we used to have classes, for example, political economy. That is something as an engineering student that wasn't a good opening to me to understand.
And at this time, were there also SFI students around?
There were ASF in Chitradurga.
CPI.
ASF was there. DSS was there. DSF was not very active in
But DSS did not have a proper students wing as such, no?
Not by that time.
So the other students wing in the progressive space was the
ASF,
the CPIs
and CPM ASF. To a little extent,
which is SFI,
and PVK. And you had.
So were you ever in a situation where you had to choose between the three?
No. I was directly initiated into PVK because we wrote to them.
And how did you differentiate? Back then, you would have slowly been growing into the line, the ideological line. Back then, what was your understanding of your difference between CPI's AISF, CPIM's SFI, and your own?
See, PVK whole slogan was steady through struggle. And ASF, ADSO was also there in our engineering college.
ADSO is whose?
That is SUCI.
SUCI, yeah. Right.
So their motto was study and struggle. So that made a lot of difference to us.
Study and struggle.
We study through struggle. So that means transformation is primary.
AIDSO was study and struggle.
Study and struggle. Even SFI.
It almost sounds like a advice that a parent would give a child. Go for sports, go for politics also do, but please study. But you were more revolutionary, you think, in that?
Yes, we thought that. That is the only revolutionary thing. And final goal, we had that a philosophical vision. I should actually confess. It gave us a purpose, a philosophical purpose. Any politics or any individual to sustain for a long time in a particular course. You need a philosophical vision of your own self and your purpose. So that purpose was defined. There needs to be a revolutionary transformation. Whether it is possible through Maoist way, that is retrospectively I have been actually negotiating with that. What purpose and what way is different. But what is the purpose of life? That is the philosophical negotiation an individual will have to have at his one point of the lifetime. So that was possible for us when we were exposed to this revolutionary transformation. So revolution, whether it was all comprehensive, for example, retrospectively speaking, whether it comprehended all the complexities of the Indian society, that we can discuss or debate those other things. But finally, India needs a revolutionary transformation. The status quo will not actually facilitate the people of the oppressed. This, if I can summarize it in 2 sentences. That's how I perceived it.
Back when you were with
the PVK. etc. So that defined my life. So then that was one of the decisions was not to complete engineering.
So in the same breath, what was your analysis of, let's say, the AIDSO, the AISF, or the SFI, who were your left, but not your kind of left?
That was very childish of us those days.
But what was your analysis?
I can give you one example, which was how childish about ourselves and also about others. For example, SUCI had this motto of genuine communists. The only genuine communists of India. Ekamatra Akrutrima Communist Paksha. That was their wall writing.
Acha.
So we used to taunt them. You are the genuine communists. They used to taunt us. You are jungle communists. Jungle communists.
Jungle communists. Acha.
That was the quality of our thing, That was very childish of
SFI?
all of us. We did not have much. I did not have much. AISF was also weak, but we were working together, to say so. But they are very few.
And I think that is the thing, no? The CPI and its mass organizations have a slightly, with the ultra left, there is some meeting of mind somewhere. And
they think that they are the parental party. All others are splinter parties. Actually, historically, so CPI is the mother organization. It was split into CPM. CPM was split into CPIML. That's why
So the CPIM and the CPIML are siblings.
Yeah.
So sibling rivalry. So you have the CPI, which is the.
But to be serious, there were fundamental differences also. Okay. But I realized later, what was the reason? It was not just because of how it was portrayed by the others, People, communists split on the question of how to kill the class enemy, either through sword or a bullet. So split does not happen on that grounds. To understand the society, to understand the stage of the society and what kind of revolutionary course one should take. These are the polemical debates, which we did not understand in the beginning. Whatever dished out to us, we actually imbibed it in a very amateurish kind of thing.
Adventurist?
What is adventurism is something.
It is a term that is often used by
left
parliamentary left to describe the ultra left.
See, parliamentary left says left adventurism. The revolutionary left says this is revisionism. Parliamentarism. Parliamentarism is a compromise. That's what revolutionary interpretation. Parliamentary left have some genuine criticism about the mainstream Maoist parties as being only sectarian, left adventurism. They don't understand the reality. So one should not dismiss any of this criticism and one should engage that. So at this age, and experience, I think that each one has their own experience to have a look at it. So instead of dismissing it, I think you should get into their shoes and try to understand what is the nature of criticism. What happens in the communist sphere is once you are criticized, you become an enemy. Criticism is not taken in a positive spirit. I don't think there should be an antagonistic attitude towards criticism. It should be taken. And it helps you to self-analyze, That's better way. So,
because, and I don't know if this is what I'm going to say is too much of a stretch, but in Christian theological in the universe, you have this entire thing of the heretic, the heresy, and you can still argue. Some have argued very succinctly that there is some Christian inspiration or Abrahamic inspiration in the communist ism, and one of the things they have definitely inherited is this throwing the Bible at somebody. So throwing the Das Capital at somebody and saying you're not communist enough. That this doctrinal, this cardinal sin, this concept of a cardinal sin and cardinal virtue. Do you think that's what you're getting at? I mean,
that trend is there even in the RSS. That is not confined to only communists have that. I don't dismiss that, but whichever is basically ideologically has some doctrine.
RSS is a lot more fungible, no? It's a lot more shape-shifting, amorphous. You have inside RSS, you have
you have hardcore. There are many splits. There are many debates.
They are more, I feel, elastic.
There are that current even in the communists.
Acha.
Even in any party at any given point of time, you will find radicals and reformers. Not only in communists, in all ideologically doctrine parties, because how to apply the basic principle to the contemporary reality. That will be the subjective interpretation. That is a domain of subjective interpretation. And that subjective interpretation will have many baggages also. So that will lead to many kind of polemic and inevitable split among the communist circles. That is the problem. But application and developing any theory is important. Otherwise, it becomes shastric. As you said, it becomes doctrinarian. So you have universal truths and you have truths that are time specific and space specific. For example, the birth of communism
to the needs of a never-changing world.
In fact, the birth of communism happens in Europe in the 19th century. It has some universal tools of understanding the capitalist society. It has some European specific and 19th century specific truths, which becomes irrelevant and which should be expanded, applied, and everywhere it should be developed. Developing is applying. Applying is understanding your local reality. In understanding local reality, just Marxist dogmas will not help.
And that is actually where we got seduced by Shivasundar, right? Like a lot of us, when I talk about myself, Naveen, so many of us young journalists, the fact that there were so many things in the communistism that appealed to us, but there was a lot of resistance to conceding to the contradictions. You were one of the people who I found very early on, let's say even 18, 19 years ago, when you, Gauri and all were active in the Baba Budangiri struggle and all these things. That's where I started meeting you. You literally got me with that one concession, which is that Marxist interpretation in the South Asian context. What should it be? It needs to be so little. That's where I really got attracted to what you were saying. No, absolutely. Because I said, at least this is a communist who is willing to accept that you cannot really import lock, stock and barrel, because you cannot be, let's say, Stalinist or for that matter, Maoist in that sense, because Indian realities are different. So
I think there are hundreds of like me. There are hundreds of like me, and there are people who are within, even in the CPI, CPM parties also, there will be people like that. It's not my own exception, but I feel like
rarely.
Yeah, I feel that there is something that we should, for example,
because CPM has spent so much time in power that they have to explain of all of these things.
They have that baggage.
They have that baggage, I suppose. So what you're, in that sense, in ideological terms, you're more, let's say, pure. But it also pure, no, in the sense that you haven't had many opportunities to commit mistakes because you've never been in power.
That is it.
You've never been in power.
That's it.
Right. So you can be pure. You can say, I have no taint. Because you never held power. I will come and kind of poke you in that thing a little bit more. But first, let's go back quickly to you were in college.
I'll just add one thing. Pure and impure. I go for impurity. I go by Rahmat Tarikere, who says impurity is the way of existence and that is the growth potential.
But if you say that is true, then a lot of people are accusing you of being a puritanical communist right now in Karnataka, given some pragmatic choices that people are making.
Yeah, what is pragmatism? We'll get into that.
We'll get to that in a second. I just want you to finish your story. So you are a student activist. All this great intellectual churning is happening. In the 80s,
Karnataka,
in the caste space, anti-caste space with the DSS, there are also socialist anti-caste people. There is the Raita Sangha, and there is, of course, the CPM and its mass organization, CPI, CPM mass organizations, and of course, you guys, the revolutionary left. What happened after that? As the 90s rolled along and the LPG policies were implemented?
In fact, as I remember, 90s also, Karnataka had many big mass movements. And we had one organization by name Karnataka Vimochana Ranga.
Of course, we talked about it.
KVR. In fact, KVR had spearheaded 5 important mass movements, which was all inclusive of many kinds of people and working class, Dalits, Muslims, everyone. We had this Komusavarda.
Yes. It is great experiment. Is it true that it is the first time communism tried to experiment with question of identity?
I don't think so. In fact,
in Karnataka, communist mass movements,
it did. I think CPI and CPI also wanted to negotiate this, but may not be in a big way as we did. For example, Komu Sauharda, they had some Sauharda Vedike. Even CPM tried to bring in intellectuals on their front. But to understand, communalism will elevate into fascism, and fascism will be the biggest threat. And working class should be, and the toiling masses should be prepared to ideologically counter this particular fascist forces.
But there was a tendency among the CPM, which is that this is all part of the superstructure.
Yeah, that was the problem.
Class is the basis. If we continue to focus on the class issues of working class and all of that, and of course, again, the contradiction is for them, working class is a bank employee, not a railway employee and not an unorganized. Anyway,
so here, in fact, Karnataka Komusavarda Vedike, KVR, and the movement KVR led. For example, it led the movement against the eviction of tribals from Kudaimuka National Park, a movement against Kudaimuka iron ore mining, the movement against actually stopping the Kolar goldfields in Kolar, movement for the Narayanpur Baludande project in Raichur, that is Sindhanur then. So there were some 5, and there was also big movement against Bangalore-Mysore infrastructure corridor project. So where we had Cycle Jata, etc. That was a great time in which we could expand our own understanding of political economy of Karnataka, and also understand how imperialism works through the local agencies, and also how a larger unity of the people is also needed. It is not just pure industrial working class. There are many toiling people of different social backgrounds. They need to be brought into the whole thing. There was also a little small experiment of actually understanding the caste question and floating a complete anti-caste caste annihilation oriented kind of organization also. So 90s actually happened like this when there was global onslaught. So Karnataka had a specific kind of resistance, and 5 of that in Karnataka I was part of that as part of in different level. I was not part of KVR as such, but I was part of all their movements in such.
What were you part of then at that time?
In fact, I wrote a book. I mean, I was instrumental in writing a booklet against this BMICT in explaining that.
Even there you were doing the same thing of creating these journals. Journaling has been one of your longest passions, right?
That is, unfortunately, it is the thing that will come to me because of my social background and talent to articulate. That is a very sad thing to say, but I was also on the field. In fact, I was the leader of the Cycle Jata, which went from Bangalore to Mysore. And I was in the field also. So I have been doing this. And in the street demonstrations, etc. But unfortunately, I was not even arrested once. And Gauri was accusing me for this. Before, in my lifetime, I should see you in jail. That was a rule which I could not fulfill. Even today, that is not happening. Anyway, I was...
Shahadat nahi mili aapko.
Shahadat nahi mili. And Gauri ko pura liberation nahi mili. So, yeah, 90s went on like that. Big mass movements were actually taking place. And that is the time in which aggressive Naxalite movement also took its roots in the Western Ghats. So, there was a kind of internal debate within
people
that
who
party.
You knew? People who you knew who went
went to that Maoist party, and you know that I knew that they also had some reservation about going for armed struggle without making people aware of the need of the armed struggle, without confirming that people are ready for the armed struggle. You cannot impose that. So there was that kind of imposition. I was told that Saket Rajan was instrumental in that.
Yeah.
So and he became actually victim of that very same
hindsight,
thing.
of course, it was a blunder.
Yeah, it was a great blunder according to me.
Part of
man of his caliber would have been...
Whose book is still taught in Mysore
universities. So then there was a big debate. So that debate, in fact, externally, I was also passionately engaged in the debate. What is the nature of Indian society? For any social change, you should understand what is the nature. For example, those were days, in the early days of Indian freedom, I mean, after the national independence, landlord class was the principal enemy in the village. So you have to unite all the people, all the castes, and all the petty farmholders or the landless against the landlord. So landlord is the permanent enemy. But the political economy has changed. The local enemy there need not be a landlord. And the whole Indian economy, a contribution of agriculture is just nothing.
The landlord, in comparison to the corporate master over here,
completely different. And the nature of landlord has become semi-capitalist because he is the one who is actually owning seed shop. He is the one who is owning the petrol pump in the...
And he is also making layouts in Bangalore. For Simple Sudha's husband.
Yeah. You said so.
I said so means what? Of course. You know, in tech parks are coming up, Infosys and all that.
In fact, Balgopal is a good take on that. You have a single-headed enemy in the name of... When there was a feudalism was the enemy in the form of landlord. Capitalism is a 1,000-headed hydra.
Hydra-headed.
So then you have to actually... the victims are the same. The process of exploitation is different. So in Marxist parlance, how do you exploit the surplus labor? Caste is still a major point, and surplus labor exploitation happens in so many different ways. And you need to actually mobilize people, make people understand the way surplus is exploited and organize them. And what you offer from Naxalite party is squad as the only form and armed struggle as the only form of struggle, which will not actually cater to the needs of the different forms of struggle. That stems from the wrong understanding of the political economy and also the political understanding of the stage of Indian society. So that was the polemic. That was it. I was also passionately involved externally. I was not internally there. So then there was Noor Sridhar and etc. They were actually part of the Karnataka State Committee and they actually fell out. So I passionately actually also involved with them in actually evolving a new understanding of revolutionary change, etc. So that's how 2006 came.
Right.
So this whole...
And then Baba Budangiri starts.
Baba Budangiri started in 99 itself.
Yeah, but 2006 was your first very big...
That was 2002. 2002,
you said that was the biggest...
Okay, 2002.
Chikmagalur, exactly.
2002, 2003, 2004 and 2005. All these 4 years, we had a big gathering. There was a change also. See, earlier days, we thought there was this Datta Jayanti.
Hmm.
Our primary discourse was that instead of Datta Jayanti, let us have Sauharda Jayanti. We were not sure whether Dattatreya was existing or not, because their goal was to convert Dargah, which is in the name of, the shrine was in the name of Hazrat Baba Budan. So that was actually Dada Hayat Mir Kalandar, but Baba Budan was the person who actually is the Shishya, disciple. So they wanted to convert Dargah into a temple. They thought it is their propaganda was that it is a temple of Dattatreya. There was Datta Jayanti since ancient times. What we countered in the beginning, that instead of Datta Jayanti, we should have Sauharda Jayanti, because we were not sure.
Yeah.
Then we actually involved ourselves into a deep historical study of understanding the nature of Dargah. By 2004, with archaeological materials expertise, in which Firoz Khan, one person who died in recently, I should remember him actually. He was an RTI activist and he was a disciple of Baba Budan Dargah. He actually gave us treasure of information and also details and also documents. And where we realized that there was no Dattatreya, it was a Dargah.
Wow.
So from 2004 onwards, it was not Sauharda Jayanti. Dargah should be Dargah. That was our motto. So then we dwelt into that, and it also actually evolved into Kauma Sauharda Vedike slowly.
Okay, I hope I'm summarizing this very, like, in terms of bullet points. If you summarize, then you basically are looking at a timeline or an arc which starts with the landlord, then you have the IT tycoon, and then you have the Jai Shri Ram fellow. So this Jai Shri Ram became, post 2002, it became something you could not avoid. Of course, there have been early rumblings going back.
The slogan, see, Anant Kumar was the president of Karnataka BJP. He had gave a slogan in 2000. 2002 is when this Gujarat thing happened. In 2002 November, Anant Kumar gave a slogan that we will convert Baba Budan Dargah into an Ayodhya, into a Gujarat. So that was a nightmare. In fact, that nightmare actually made all the progressive to come and assemble in Chikmagalur.
Except the CPI-CPM.
That's okay.
They came.
They were in there.
Didn't they say, because I thought from the beginning, when we used to try to figure out who is who. Right? Who is Shivasundar, what's his line? Who is Munir Katipalla, what is his line? Who is Neela Gulbarga, what's her line?
The difference was, CPI had their base in Chikmagalur, historically. And we came from outside and we actually became the whole thing. That problem was there. That apart, they did not engage in a deeper study of whether they should continue with Datta Jayanti, but they actually understood the point. CPI and CPM, they with their mass organization were part of this. They did something parallelly and they also was part of it.
I think on two questions you could not gel. One is definitely the fact that you had this ultra-left strain within you. The second, I think, is the, let's say, the pragmatic choice that the Komusauharda Vedike and its at its very core, it did have many ultra-left people, was to make the pragmatic decision to ally with Muslim organizations which were decried or were dismissed by the CPI-CPM as not just Muslim but Muslim fundamentalist organizations, be it the PFI, SDPI, back then it was the KFD, Karnataka Forum for the PFI used to be called the KFD back then. These are the two things on which you guys used to differ very sharply, right?
In the sense that also evolved in a course. That is not pragmatic, that was political. In the sense, how do you understand fascism? That was one thing. When fascism is the principal enemy, so whoever throws a stone against it should be also accommodated into the broader stream of a united front against fascism. That was one principle. That is the larger international experience also. But they had a point saying that they are not ideological friends. They could be your tactical friends. They were not conceding that they could be tactical sojourners also in the fight against fascism. So that thing they retained. And when they were part of Komusauharda Vedike, we actually had some internal struggle with the KFD also. So on there some positions we wanted actually. I think in one of this part you were also part that Sagar Hotel incident.
So basically, I'll go back to this. Basically what happened, G. Rajshekhar and Paniraj used to keep questioning Naveen and I, we were reporters then. We used to keep saying, okay, all your secularism we understand, but how is a right-wing fundamentalist organization like the KFD part of it? Rajshekhar used to say, my foot, get me the proof. So what happened is, it is a fact that a lot of our sourcing would happen through the PFI, KFD. They would know which Bajrang Dal attack has happened where and everything. So we had some sources among them. So one day what happened, they had attacked a couple. Sagar Hotel case,
Sagar Hotel case.
In which the PFI had attacked because the girl was a Muslim.
Exactly.
If the girl is a Hindu,
Yeah.
Bajrang Dal will attack.
Yeah.
If the girl is a Muslim,
Correct.
PFI will attack.
Correct.
I called the PFI district chief at that time, Ataullah,
Yeah.
and he thought, well, I'm his friend, which
Yeah.
I am nobody's enemy,
Yeah.
of course. But in the end of the day, I'm a reporter, you are a political organization. I said, sir, like this, there's this Sagar Hotel, something. Yes, that boy, he picked up our girl and we gave him proper this, that, and I just took it as a statement.
Yeah.
And that became proof
Yeah.
that KFD also indulges in this thing. And then there was a whole reconsideration.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That process happened. In the beginning, we thought that we should engage. When there is a fault line, they should be engaged and we should properly place our criticism, and that is not admissible. To an extent, the leadership then was actually receptive, to be fair to them. And we were asking them, we don't claim that leadership may be responsible for this. But if these things happen, what is the role of the leadership to contain this? So you are accountable to the people. You are accountable to the secular people also. They found rationale in that. Later on that, there were many other developments and we could not actually, Komasavardaka Vedika itself became different.
Can we say that this was the beginning of the end?
No.
Why, if you allow me to make this criticism, it started appearing that all these secular fronts or platforms that you created, this group of people, okay, who I hold in very high regard, like Gauri, you, all of this, even Vasu and those things, was that, yes, there's a protest at town hall. It is some 15 people from your side, the rest of the crowd is only Muslims. So literally in every so-called Brihat Pratipatne means big protest, massive mega protest and all that. The mega would come from the fact that there is a Muslim support and they would just turn up in large numbers. Even the WPI and the Jamaat Islami were part of your formation. So was the PFI, and that's where the numbers would come from. And is it fair to say that because of this contradiction you split, and once you split, the organization remained, the mass vanished. So it became not a mass organization, it was an organization.
There is a 70% truth to that.
There is truth in that.
There's truth to that, because even today, the mega formations, say Samvidhana Odissi, Reddedu, Karnataka, basically the component is Muslims. The Congress strength is also basically Muslims.
To an extent, Dalits.
To an extent, that is one part of the Dalits, basically. But basically their vote share, they have a credible vote share because Muslims do not have any other alternative and they have to vote in en masse to them, especially in Uttar Pradesh in recent elections, etc. That is one thing. This also is a symptom of larger menace. That is, none of the progressive organizations, at least in Karnataka, including the organizations which I was associated with, do not have a strong mass base. That is the ground reality.
If that has to be the ground reality, then that is even more true of a party like the Congress, which now these mass organizations have come to support. So, one of the things that...
I'll finish this.
Yes, please.
I'll finish this. But can you say that because of the exit of PFI, the Komasavardaka Vedika collapsed? I don't think so. Because you can remember G. Rajshekhar and Fani Raj, 3 or 4 people continue to protest. That is for their credit, and they didn't bother about their future, their security, etc. They continued to do that. Likewise, it continued for an extent, but then people thought that there need to be transformation. There were, for example, the secretary was Ashok for a long time, and he thought that he should do some grassroots level organization. Instead of doing events, some grassroots level organization should be built, and there was no other grassroots level organization to actually take on this. I'm talking about DSS, Right Sangha, Janashakti, then it was Karnataka Janapara Vedike. KVR is no more. So every other organization, in fact, we come together, form larger giant friends, see some 500, 600 people, and each of us feel that ours is this over 500, 600 people. So that is the predicament. So it actually, it transformed. For example, Komasavardaka Vedika was transformed to Samvidhana Udisi Okkota 5 years before. Then it transformed to the need of the times. They thought that there are other actually priorities which we should cater. With a limited force, you cannot run many organizations. So it will have a very skeletal thing. So that is the thing. But then this part is correct. Maximum mass mobilized for any Komasavardaka Vedika incident were progressive from all over Karnataka, and especially Muslims. And Muslims had a high hopes of Komasavardaka Vedika also. I don't think there's a problem in that. The problem was that the other organization also should have been built. They should also had some mass bases, which the KVR had, for example, because of their mass mobilization, because of spearheading many mass movements. There was quite a good mass mobilization. You know Mahendra Kumar. In 2002, in fact, there was a big rally in Shrungeri where Medha Patkar, Your Ananthamurthy all came, and there were more than 2,000 to 3,000 Adivasis in Shrungeri. That was a huge gathering. There, Mahendra Kumar was then in Bajrang Dal, and he came and actually wanted to create problems, and he was actually made to go out and etc. He remembered with very fondness after his transformation. So that was my first exposure to alternate thinking, he said. So that was the strength of the mass mobilization. So we don't have that. That is the problem. I'm not saying this about one particular organization. That is the predicament.
Overall, you're saying?
Overall, that is the predicament. Unless this is broken, the hapless dependence on the proven betrayers like Congress will continue. That is my position.
And that is what should actually is a good entry point for that first question I asked.
Exactly.
What is Shivasundars' problem?
That's why I provided that entry point to you, because in order to which time.
Yeah. No, but then we'll get more specific then. No?
Yeah.
So we have some experiments before us.
Yeah.
It is believed that the assembly election result in Karnataka had many components to it for the Congress to come and win that election. One very key ingredient in that victory was the support given by these progressive organizations such as Yeddedu Karnataka, Bahutva Karnataka. Yeddedu Karnataka is essentially the present avatar of the Janashakti.
No, it has many components.
It has many components, but the Janashakti is the driving force.
One of the components, one of the important component. I don't know because I am not part of that.
Okay, but in the engine room you have Janashakti.
I see.
In that formation. No, if it's not true, I don't know.
Hello, I don't know because I am not part of that.
You're not, but you have this thing, and then importantly, one thing that a lot of people say is that these formations helped the Congress with a discourse. They gave them the talking points, literally. They gave them an agenda, a progressive agenda for a party which has otherwise no great claims to progressivism. These entities gave the Congress an agenda to fight the BJP with, a progressive agenda and things like that. And you are one of them, one of the people who has very vehemently criticized this association of progressive movements with the Congress. Why?
I wrote a detailed piece for the News Minute. Post-election. So how the 36% BJP's vote share was intact and that is not disturbed. And Congress got its vote share from their traditional vote base, and there was no big contribution of any formation, including the Yeddedu Karnataka, in weaning away the force of the people with BJP towards Congress. That is one thing. Having said that, let me make it one thing clear. Civil society activism is most welcome. What the civil society used to do otherwise, they should write articles, they may write articles, do some press conferences, be at home. But this time they went onto the street. That's a positive thing. When you say Yeddedu Karnataka, I see three components there. There are some NGOs, there are some individuals, there are people have been organizations like Janashakti, Right Sangha and DSS. I don't know, much of the DSS was not there. They did something independently. And then you had Muslim community groups. And then you had Christian community groups. So the mass strength of if you can say mass strength of the Yeddedu Karnataka is derived from community organization.
Absolutely.
So they had their own network. Independent of Yeddedu Karnataka, they have been doing this for more than 20-30 years. So networking, and also there is some Muttehada Mahas, which actually do some constituency-wise survey and suggest the Muslim to whom to vote for to defeat BJP, etc. Church also came in a big way. These are all good things. I am not denying that. But the question, finally, should you vote for BJP? I don't think that anyone who vote for BJP can be patriot. That is a 1 second job. You go there, press a button for Congress and come out. Question is not that. Question is you become the apologist for Congress. What happens is people on the street, because this is the experience of the activists at the grassroots level. People demand that we have been voting for Congress, they are not doing anything. So what is your answers to that? No, this time Congress will do something better. We will ensure you vote for Congress, we will ensure that Congress will not do other way. So that is problematic, because I even don't think that Congress is is bereft of any agendas. Congress has its agenda. Congress has its narrative. D.K. Shivakumar has its narrative. I have written that to Newsminute also, even after the election, for example, Bhagavad Gita Abhiyan. See, for example, Bhagavad Gita Abhiyan was taken up by Sonde Mata in Karnataka, and which was completely facilitated by the BJP government and RSS. Nagesh, who was then the education minister in 2022, facilitated Bhagavad Gita Abhiyana in primary schools, of government primary schools, which we opposed and Congress also opposed. When Congress comes to power, the very same government, even after getting support from Edelu Karnataka are very sincere people. They want some basic social transformation. The only problem is they think that Congress can do that. That's the problem. But immediately after coming to the power, Lakshmi Hebbalkar inaugurated. Lakshmi Hebbalkar is the cabinet minister. She inaugurates the Bhagavad Gita Abhiyana in Belgaum, the concluding ceremony, and she says that Bhagavad Gita should be taught in primary school and the value should be imbibed by each and every individual in the Karnataka. Whereas Bhagavad Gita is described as the Sara Sangraha of Manusmriti by Ambedkar, for example. And when this was actually put to D.K. Shivakumar, he says that we are the real Hindus.
Yeah.
He talks like Kamal Nath,
yeah.
And he is the KPCC president.
Yeah.
And I should also quote another incident which I wrote in Newsminute also. After becoming the deputy chief minister, there was one show which was going on ZTV, which is called as Weekend with Ramesh. There was regular interview with the celebrities, and D.K. Shivakumar was also interviewed. And in one of the questions asked by the interviewer was that, and he was told that he is a Sanskrit scholar also, D.K. Shivakumar. He said that D.K. Shivakumar is a scholar and he can translate the slokas also. So accordingly, he recites a sloka and he explains that in English.
Wife and daughter something.
Exactly. The sloka says that whether the woman in the house is your daughter, wife or your mother, the man of the house should have an eye on her, supervise her, because woman is swabhavataha chanchale. By character, she is gullible. This is the spirit of one of the texts that was taught by the BJP, which was called as Shukasana. That was not removed even after these people came back. This is they have a politics. Don't say that they don't have a politics. They have a class interest. It is a party which has ruled this country. The thing is, they are not as aggressive. The thing is, there is an inevitable thing to vote for Congress to defeat BJP electoral. But that should not be construed as a political defeat, because their politics and ideology of the Congress is not contradictory. They are electoral adversary and they are not political ideological adversary of the BJP. It can be explained in another way also. Ashoka University has a center called Trivedi Center of Political Data. They have analyzed in 2022 the defectors. In 2022, out of the 31 assemblies the India has, there were 4,300 MLAs, out of which 1,200 were BJP MLAs, out of which 600 were defected from Congress. And what kind of congressmen? They actually headed the state level Congress party. They were the ideologues. The question is, how it becomes so easy for you to defect? And all the northeastern states chief ministers, most of them, are such a idea that they have become the votaries of RSS. Say, for example, Himant Biswa Sarma. He was a congressman and he actually beats anybody, even Modi. Kiran Rijiju. All these people, and even that Biren Sharma of Manipur, he was a Congress chief minister prior to 2017. So then the question is, what is the nature of Congress? Whether they consider themselves as anti-fascist. That is the thing. You may attribute anti-fascism to them. But Congress is not anti-fascist, because anti-fascism has two components. Your social philosophy, which should be actually non-Brahminical, if not anti-Brahminical, and your economic philosophy should be non-neoliberal. Because finally, fascism emerges from an economic crisis, where the political formation cannot resolve it. Then it becomes a fertile ground for the fascist forces to mobilize that anger against the hapless people. So you should, that's what Sartre told in 1957, socio-economic conditions of emergence of fascism still remains until the capitalism remains. Because capitalism is crisis. Capitalism can thrive only on the exploiting others. And crony capitalism will aggravate the whole problem. And Congress is not, you cannot say it is non-crony capitalist, because Revant Reddy in the Telangana has said that all the electrical utilities will be privatized to the Adanis, for example. Yeah, you had a question.
My only question is that fascism is a global phenomenon now.
Yeah.
And across the globe, we are seeing people coming up with similar answers to that, which is that like you said, fascism is composed of there's a social component and there's an economic component in fascism.
Yeah.
The social component in the fascist tendencies in Europe would be race, gender,
Immigration,
and the immigration, all of these things.
Yeah.
And the economic thing, we know it is basically settler colonialism. You know, finance capital. You know, these are the things which are so the response across the globe, whether it is the response in the form of an Obama or a Biden, you know, or a Starmer in the UK. In France, we are saying, oh, fascists have been defeated, but oh my goodness, it is like one khichdi, and you know, we are talking about a so-called left. So essentially, what the left is doing is it is defeating fascism by excluding the same sections who are in need of their protection. In the case of Europe, it's definitely Muslims. In the case of India, it's definitely Muslims.
And Dalits.
Right, which is that you are being anti-fascist, anti-Hindutva without giving tickets to Muslims.
I will elaborate on that for some time. See, what we have in the Europe and America is a right-wing shift, and it is not fascism. Fascism is fundamentally different from all other right-wing because it has a social base. For example, German fascism, German Nazism and Italian fascism, and even Spain for that matter, had a social base. You have what is called as subaltern Hindutva, which has a base among the downtrodden, and also the people who are ought to be against this Brahminism. They are part of
a class question which gets perverted somewhere along the way.
So there, this is actually imbibed as a liberatory by the people who are ought to be against them. Unlike, for example, Trump is defeated. He is electorally defeated, but still has 49% vote base. And the base is anti-wokeism.
But also it is rust-built people. People are working in white poor people.
That's what wokeism. Wokeism is the ideology of the white working men, white working men for that matter, which says that wokeism is all about equality, social equality, all other things. They say that wokeism destroys America. It is against the American life. So anti-wokeism becomes the ideology, and it is slowly gaining the social base. That is why Trump is receptive. I mean, the American society is receptive of Trump. Likewise, in Europe, for example, like you talked about Starmer. What kind of left he is? In the sense, he is known as one who supported Israel also.
Exactly, he's an anti-Palestine.
He's an anti-Palestine, anti-immigrant for that matter. And he said that he has transformed the left. He has brought the left to the center. The question is, center is shifting to the right.
And then you have Rahul Gandhi showing Shiva photograph in parliament.
So
we have transformed Hinduism. We have transformed the left.
And what Isaac Ashraf says that Hindu right. I mean, what is Hindu left? Hindu left. That is a problematic characterization. But nevertheless, even in Vidhan Saudha last time, when this BJP MLA started shouting Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri Ram, Congress and Siddaramaiah shouted Jai Sitaram. So both of them brought Ram into the house. So this hegemony of Hindutva is actually all encompassing, and it actually hegemony is there over opposition parties also. How do you defeat the hegemony? I will give you one more example. For example, in 2022 UP election, all the opposition parties and also this BJP party started their campaign from Ayodhya. What was the promise given by these people? Every political party, including the BSP, SP, Congress, AAP, they say that they will build the Bhavya Ram Mandir in a faster pace. None of them had that constitutional obligation to say that the demolition of Babri Masjid is wrong. So much so, in 2020, when this Bhumi Puja took place, Priyanka Gandhi mobilized funds for building Ram Mandir. This is not that they wanted to destroy Babri Masjid. They cannot defeat Hindutva hegemony. You are indirectly strengthening the Hindutva hegemony. Like what did D.K. Shivkumar say that it is our Rajiv Gandhi who actually telecasted Ramayana. We are the real Hindus. You are supporting that. This whole thing is the outcome of what Rajiv Gandhi did. And it is not also because of the fear of losing the Hindu votes. Because in 1984, Congress had 50% votes and 414 seats in the parliament. What made you to compromise with the Hindu right? This compromise with the Hindu right by the Congress started from the period of Indira Gandhi itself. Her second coming. In fact, even during the emergency.
When Gandhi took over, I would say that when Gandhi took over in 1920, He took over the as KPCC.
Motilal.
No. This MP Gandhi.
14.
1918, 1920, somewhere around that period, he takes over.
Yeah.
There is huge churning in the Congress about the caste question, because back then people have gone before the Simon Commission to talk about caste censuses have happened and all that. They say, what do we do? Who do they outsource the caste question to? The Hindu Mahasabha.
Hindu Mahasabha is the signatory.
Gandhi is this thing, they pass a resolution saying that the Hindu Mahasabha will take care of the caste question.
But how Congress betrayed us in that book, in fact, Ambedkar writes it very clearly, how Hindu Mahasabha is the betrayer and Congress is a party to that.
Isn't it? So therefore, the people, theoretically, they're not wrong in calling it the original Hindu party. All of that said and done. Now you are saying that...
I will also add one more historical thing. Please. Who opposed this mixing of religion with politics in 1919 when he started Khilafat movement? It was Muhammad Ali Jinnah who opposed that. I oppose Gandhi on this front because he should not mix it. He was considered as the ambassador of secular India till 1937, of course. But then, that is the history. You Hinduize is the first step towards becoming Hindutva.
Yes.
There might be difference, a smaller difference, but it's the first step. Unless you Hinduize for the historical circumstances, you make it constitutionalize at least, secularize the identities. Once you religionize if you give agency to religiosity and you don't have any other cultural interventions to make it more pro people, or at least say Shudraize or Dalitize it, Hindutva will take over that. That's what is happening. For example, in Karnataka, Lingayas was an anti-Brahmin formation. They were first Hinduized and now they are Hindutvaized. The Veerashaiva Lingayata, the Veerashaiva part is Hinduizing. And now they are actually they are part of Vishwa Hindu Parishad. They argue for this Hindutva Rashtra. And that is why during 1989, where the Karnataka State Congress got the maximum vote share, etc., when Virendra Patel was actually dethroned unceremoniously, 17% of the Lingayats deserted Congress. But during 2023, when Yediyurappa and Jagdish Shettar was not given proper respect, hardly 1.5% of the Lingayats deserted BJP. That is the hold of Hindutva, you know. Religiosity in this sense, Brahminical religiosity, if you promote that. That's what is the comment about this Bole Baba, no? What's happening in Hathras today. Ambedkarite Dalits are commenting on because he is bringing in Brahminical religiosity to the Dalit folks. Brahminical religiosity is the first step towards becoming Hindutvaized. So that is the problem, and Congress is very comfortable with this social process.
The criticism of the Congress actually is important but not difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go on adding that.
It's important, but now in defense of people who you said are enabling that kind of a party, enabling that kind of an ideology, they are saying that how can we be enablers when we are that indigestible component? They can't. Our actual ideology, if you look at a Vasu, a Mallige, that whole bunch of people who are part of the ultra left in Karnataka, their views are unpalatable to the Congress, and therefore they are saying if you are doing business with the Congress, it is as unpalatable for them to have us, and we have also got an influence over them. And he was saying that, you know, why does it always have to be seen as the Congress using us? We could be using the Congress as well. You know, that, and another way of saying it also is that given that how high the flood waters have risen, how big the Hindutva tsunami is, change can only be incremental. This is one step towards that change, you know, and all of those things. How do you respond to that? Because the criticism of a Shivasundar could be that he has become a bit of a Marx Baba.
Giving preaching.
Marx Baba, who absolutely, he's not at all wrong. But where is the Sangatana? Where is the organization? What organization can you create on the basis of what you are saying? How will that organization survive? You know, I was speaking to Munir Katipalla, our common friend, who's in the CPM. And he said, you know, do ask him, I am here working for an organization which has in the whole of the state around max 150 whole-timers. I am one of the senior most whole-timers, and I get 12,000 rupees stipend per month. Okay. How are these organizations supposed to survive? What are we supposed to do? You know, Sangatane Narsovantaddu, Sangatane Kattodu, it's a very difficult thing. So what does Marx Baba have? Because Marx Baba, the reason I'm taunting you with that, I'm sorry. You know, you're a friend and teacher. You're a friend and teacher. I know you'll take it in the right spirit. But I'm just saying that, you know, Marx in his own lifetime did not bring any revolution. It was Lenin whose first interpretation, and thereon forward, whoever else. So the Lenin is basically turning back and saying, hey, if I wanted to turn your doctrine into a government, there are I had to cut some corners.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't you take that as a...
See, one thing is I am not Marx Baba, those are all high things. In fact, I have my own,
Marx Baba
my
in
feelings.
terms of Puritan...
Yeah, it is not Puritan thing. I'll let you know that. There are four-pronged answer to this. This criticism is not just about Janshakti or the Mawasu, Malligi, Munir Katipala, this thing. It is a criticism of the phenomena that's happening. The thing is supporting Congress tactically, historically that has happened. For example, in 1967, 69, when Indira Gandhi came out with her
10-point
Garibi Hatao and
10-point program,
20-point program, etc., and 5 nationalization, etc. Then there was a thesis presented by one senior communist leader by name Kumaramangalam, asking the CPI party to merge with Congress. Because now Indira Gandhi is a socialist leader, and through her you can implement socialism.
CPI was part of this thing. So
Kumaramangalam actually resigned Communist Party and she joined. CPI supported emergency. CPM opposed emergency. But then, finally it so happened, for example, land reforms. There is a great scholar by name Atul Kohli. So he has made an analysis of the impact of the land reforms which was taken up by Indira Gandhi. It was successful only in areas, states where there was people's movement to implement it. He considers 3 important things. One, there should be a revolutionary law. There should be a revolutionary agency, a revolutionary chief minister. And there should be a revolutionary mass movement to implement the land reform. Our fourth one is imperialist intervention. That happened in South Korea.
India also.
No, there was no land reform.
Land reform, but political reforms.
Political reforms only in the political structures, superstructures. So political reforms to happen. For example, South Korea, they wanted to actually develop it as a contradiction, as an example of capitalist Soviet Russia to communist China, etc. But all other 3 in India did not happen. For example, he considers Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, and Karnataka. He takes these 3 examples. He considers only in West Bengal this happened to an extent because all the 3 collided. In Karnataka, you had a revolutionary chief minister, but you did not revolutionary law, or you did not have revolutionary mass movement. In Karnataka, it was a successful to a bit only in the Dakshin Kannada because of the intervention of the very strong people's movement. In fact, the law also became revolutionary only because of the intervention of 3 socialist MLAs, of which Kagod Timappa, Bangarappa, all these were there, and 3 communist MLAs, including Kakilaya. In fact, communist parties are not narrating this story, unfortunately. Earlier, when Huchmasti Gowda was the revenue minister, what was the upper ceiling? It was 258 acres, even under Devarajaras. Let us know that. Only due to the intervention of this socialist and communist intervention that became revolutionary to an extent. But it was not even implemented when there was no force from the people. So, this whole reforms, and how did emergency was considered by the capitalist class? Birla in a meeting declares that our best friend is Indira Gandhi, not Bharatiya Janasangh, because she can convince the workers to work for us. And what was the description of emergency? Trains are coming at the time, and it is disciplined. Workers are disciplined. So disciplinarian, that was the essence of emergency. You can, wherever it happened, something good happened, it was because of the people's movement. And what happened on the Muslims? You might have read Christopher Jaffarley's book on first emergency, that is first dictatorship in India. He says, for example, Turkmen Gate Prakarana and that Nasbandi thing. It was anti-Muslim. Sanjay Gandhi's 5 programs were completely anti-Muslim, and there was this current within the
post-sterilization.
Yeah, the whole thing. So Congress has that current, and Congress continues with that current. If you compare 1969 speech of Indira Gandhi with Rahul Gandhi's speech, Indira Gandhi is far more revolutionary in speech. Maybe he is more sincere. Rahul Gandhi could be more sincere. A party is not defined by the individual. Party runs on the interest it has. For example, let us take the Sam Pitroda incident, that inheritance tax, etc. During the election, it emerged. And he was talking about wealth distribution, etc. That was misused by Modi. That was a different thing. But what happened to Sam Pitroda? He was dismissed immediately. P. Chidambaram, in an interview, he says that we don't accept what Sam Pitroda says. See our manifesto. We are for the private capital-led growth. Gone are the days of Garibi Hatao, he says. This is Congress. And I was actually surprised to see in that interview where Vasu said to you that he thinks that the leadership of the Congress believes 90% of the manifesto, and it was not for tactical thing. It is not. So see what happened. For example, in Karnataka, I can cite you so many examples. What is happening in Karnataka is actually re-implementing the idea given by Bommai and Mohandas Pai.
But Anna, you started off saying that in any ideological formation, there will be the radical and the reformist, right?
Yeah. Organization.
In an organization.
Yeah.
Do you believe that a hawk like, I mean, Chidambaram, the kind of hawk he is,
Yeah.
I mean, when he was the finance minister, when he was the
Yeah.
home minister, Green Hunt, and all of these.
Yeah. We can go on like that, yeah.
Where do you put Kharge in that?
See, in 2010...
Because the manifesto
Yeah.
is supposed to be his vision.
Yeah.
For social justice and all
Yeah.
of that, it's coming from, because I don't think Rahul Gandhi has the intelligence for something like that.
Okay.
You know.
Let me put you this counter question. Kambalapalli happened in 2000.
Yes.
Kharge was the home minister.
Yes.
The local SI was the Dalit.
Yes.
Local CI was Dalit. Local MP was Dalit. Home minister was Dalit. And what happened to Kambalapalli case?
I, in fact, refer to it in my piece on Kharge,
Exactly.
in which the answer came out, which said that the so-called revolutionary organization which was agitating for the slain Dalits was made up of Vokaliga Reddys, which is the CPIM.
Yeah.
Okay, the mascot of that movement was GV Sriram Reddy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a bunch of Vokaliga Reddys there. The judge who presided over the case, okay, was a Vokaliga Reddy.
Okay.
The chief minister at that time was a Vokaliga Reddy.
Okay.
Okay, their combined power.
Yeah.
S.M. Krishna was the
Yeah,
minister.
yeah.
Their combined power
Yeah.
was far greater than the other people who you named in the thing. So it is a matter of, is that sub-inspector,
that's
the
why
SP
you
and
are
the home minister.
You are actually defining the position of Kharge, predicament of Kharge in a Congress party. You are actually defining that. Likewise, I will give you another example. What is the source of EWS legislation? It was actually conceptualized by UPA government in 2010. It was even given a legislative form in 2012. And what did Modi said in 2019 when he actually introduced in the parliament? He said it is the idea of the Congress and I am only implementing it.
And what did Sitaram Yechuri say?
Yeah.
Actually, originally it's our plan only.
Yeah. Everyone wants to claim that. But then it is such a piece that is against social justice. Yeah. And when the Supreme Court upheld it, who welcomed it?
Social justice is nobody's baby, no, Shivasundar.
No,
like,
I am
you know, because if you talk about all these parties, you have the Hindu right,
exactly.
You have the Hindu left.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't call it Hindu left.
Why not? What do you call Sitaram Yechuri when he says?
No, they are not in that sense. No, Congress like that. No,
right. When the Babri Masjid falls, A.B. Bardhan gives a speech, much like what we are criticizing Rahul Gandhi's progressive Hindu speech.
Yeah.
A.B. Bardhan gave a speech after the fall of the Babri Masjid, which was a proper. There are good Hindus.
And what was the statement of Sitaram Yechuri when he denied the invitation to that is Ramna Mandir Udghatan?
What?
He said that no, it is not proper to actually state to intervene. He never said that building Ram Mandir is wrong. My basic principle is that you destroyed Babri Masjid. And none of I am talking about the Hindutva hegemony. I am not talking about the bravery of the opposition party.
No, I am talking about the Hindu Brahmin or the Savarna hegemony, which runs like a umbilical cord between different parties. Why umbilical cord? Literally because one relative is a communist, another relative is a Congressy, another relative is now in Kerala. If you look at it, he may be a Sanghi.
So, what is the antidote? The idea you have to build. For example, let us learn from RSS itself. RSS conceived the idea of Hindu Rashtra in that was long before 1880s only. Some that Mahasabha construed that officially RSS formed. It construed an idea of Hindu Rashtra in 1925. It is going to be realized in days to come. It took 100 years and it had its own ups and downs. And never in their downs, in their ebbs or in their flows, they actually lost the vision of Hindu Rashtra. And it took that time. They worked among the people. Let us grant that. That they learned from communists. That is the irony of the whole situation. That is the irony. But the communists or the progressive or the socialists are not working among the people. So hegemony is among the heads of the people. So unless you defeat that, unless you defeat Modi in the brains of the people, heads of the people, you cannot defeat Modi in the parliament. Finally, it is only 36.8% even after 10 years. None of the global leaders, right-wing leaders, sustained that. How did he sustain it? It is the success of Hindutva hegemony over the subaltern classes. What does the CSDS survey suggest even after the Lok Sabha election? The post-poll survey suggests all over India, even though there is a decrease when you compare that with 2019, the prominent, the stakeholders among the Dalits and the Adivasis and also among the OBCs is Hindu, whether it is BJP. Congress has increased a little bit. But there is a 10% difference. For example, in Gujarat, what is the difference between the vote share? 35%, 32%. In Madhya Pradesh, 27%. In Delhi, 11.5%. How does it happen even after 10 years? It does not happen erstwhile. There is the difference between fascism and a right-wing party, a pure right-wing party. Fascism works 24/7 at ideological and political level. For example, in Karnataka, JDS has gone with BJP. I don't think that base will come back to JDS. Maybe they may finally merge also. That is a larger phenomena. So my point is, I never felt any problem with voting for Congress in the election. But the question is, Congressization of the dissent. See what's happening in the last 1.5 months after the completion of Lok Sabha election. Such anti-people policies, one after another. The feudal mindset of D.K. Shivkumar saying that there is no autonomy for the academies. None of the progressives made a step. Some people made a statement, but the people who supported Congress, they did not come with even internal critique. For example, there is a diversion of SCSP, TSP fund, 14,000 crores. Even if you, first of all, the diversion is problem. And what is the alibi? We will use SC/ST fund for the SC guarantees. Even that is wrong.
Which is insult on injury.
Insult on injury, and that is also wrong. That is the point. There is a 6% rise, more than 24%. That is 24% population, 24.1%. In some, for example, Shakti Yojana, it is 28% of the SC/ST money is diverted. Show me one protest on the street against it. This Congressization will actually destroy the possible dissent. It will open up the opposition space completely to the BJP. So what is the premise of you joining, supporting Congress? The premise is that to defeat BJP, you should support Congress. But you being with Congress, even in its mistakes, will help the BJP to strengthen. Because people will think that it is the real opposition space. Because people don't know if that is fascist, that thing. No. They have roots among the Hindus, majority Hindus. Of course, they have alienated Muslims completely. But even today, how they actually manipulate this internal reservation thing among the Dalits? They manipulate that. So in that way, Dalits, OBCs, small caste, upper caste, of course, they are with them. Unless the majority Hindus, when you say the whole jug, 80% of them, they are mobilized on a progressive agenda at the grassroots level through people's movement. When you see, when you actually convey the message that Congress is doing good thing and BJP is saying that you are the same, people think that BJP is better than Congress and you are helping BJP. You supported Congress to defeat BJP. By supporting Congress, even in this particular thing, you will actually help BJP to come to power. Why people are not understanding this contradiction? That is my question. It is not thing that you should be pure or impure. It is not about purity. You are conceding the space of opposition to BJP.
So actually, this is where the point at which I wanted to start the discussion. You know, which is therefore what is to be done.
Yes.
The big question that Lenin asked, no, what is to be done? What is, where will the revolution come from? If you'll allow me, I leave this conversation here for now. You know, with the promise that I think the next conversation should start with that, which is now, therefore, where do we go? What is the political alternative? What is the ism that can lead us out of here is the question we're going to start the next conversation with. But I suppose this conversation combined with some of the previous ones we've had with, say, people like Vasu, I've introduced you to the thoughts of, no, I didn't introduce you to the thoughts of Teesta Setanwad, but at least what she thinks on this very contentious issue, how she thinks about it. But these, I hope you understand, are ongoing conversations and we will continue to have them. Do please keep in touch with us, give us some feedback, tell us next time when we have Shivasundar here, what is it that we should ask him. For now, that's all unfortunately we have on this show.
The personal part went on too much.
No, I don't think so at all, because I think, you know, as I've started looking at a lot of things incrementally. I believe that over the next few months and years, you know, there will be many episodes involving Shivasundar. So if anyone at that point wants to know who Shivasundar is, they should be able to go back to this episode. I think it's a very important part of your political journey as to where you started personally. So Shivasundar, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sudipto.
Thank you for this lovely conversation. See you next time.
Thank you.